most of the people out there are fucking idiots. And people, if you're watching TV, if you're wasting a beautiful day and you're gonna sit down, you don't wanna be enlightened with some erudite conversation. You want crazy shit.
Jackass trumpeted stupidity.
No one encourages anyone to get intelligent. You know, it's just not cool.
Being stupid is an attractive quality.
We don't accept anything on television that isn't, you know, the attention span is like 3 seconds, and it better be constantly amusing and titillating and sexual. And
half the people out there are fucking retarded.
I think it's something to do with people feeling better if they look at other people who are in a worse state themselves.
I feel that humans are the stupidest organism species in existence. I allow that there probably what we recognize as stupidity could be found in other species. But I think we've taken it to an extreme.
We're in a giant car heading at a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, and everybody is arguing about where they want to sit.
Stupidity is by far the greatest destructive power in the history of humanity.
Well, you know, I've always been fascinated by the phenomenon of people following people who are not smart.
This is W's world.
Called the President of the United States a moron. A moron. Moron.
Moron. He's not a moron at all.
Believe me, there is no lack of ignoramuses with PhDs. Many of them teach at Harvard University.
We're hardwired to be stupid.
Duh.
I was stupid.
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 So stupid.
The moron.
Dumb.
Stupid.
Stupid.
Stupidity.
The dumbest.
Stupidity.
Ignorant.
Proud of what you don't know.
Everybody says, I think for myself. Nobody tells me what to think. And then when you interview 50 people, all say the same thing, and all say they think for themselves, and nobody tells them what to think, you realize all of these people are actually
stupid. Einstein said that the universe and stupidity are infinite.
Moron.
How do you know stupidity when you see it?
Well, it's actually fairly difficult to define because you could think, well, somebody could be doing something, you could say, well, that's stupid, when really it could be ignorant, or somebody could be, I don't know, just going out of their mind, and you could say, well, that's not really stupid, now they're just crazy. And so it's really, it's hard to define.
Stupid? I really don't know.
I don't know about that because everybody made mistakes, nobody perfect.
I can't really say what I think is stupid, because that'd be my opinion.
Stupidity is not so cut and dry. For one can be educated and they can at the same time be stupid.
It just can't be defined. I don't know. There really is no definition of stupid, because something could be smart for somebody, but not, stupid for somebody else.
Stupidity to me would be an inability to function in the reality of the world as a whole, Like, I wouldn't, oh shit.
And so it's really, it's hard to define. You can't, I don't even know what the definition is, so I really can't say, I can't define it.
People see stupidity everywhere.
Everything is stupid.
But few can define it. People call each other.
Idiot.
Imbecile.
Moron!
But few know what the words actually mean. When it comes to stupidity, we're actually quite ignorant. So how do you make a movie about it?
I'd had some personal experience. I'd done a lot of stupid things in my life.
Well, keep your resume on file.
Throughout my life, a lot of people had assumed I was stupid. In public school, I failed a grade. I was put into remedial English, and I even crapped my pants one of the first days of school. I thought my name might be
Stupid!
He says you're stupid!
My brother is a fucking idiot, and I've had...
I worked as a reporter. Welcome to UFO land. And as a 2-bit actor.
I told you twice. Quit kicking me in the head.
Strangely enough, my biggest success came when I played a moron.
Eddie, you're going on a mission.
Only one man is dumb enough.
I'd seen a big budget movie about intelligence where I saw a lot of people falling asleep. It was then that I realized there were no movies about stupidity. Stupidity was more interesting.
That's a really stupid idea.
Stupidity was kind of a big topic, so I decided to get some advice.
I think you should keep it simple, stupid.
Make it fast, lots of action.
You have to find the lowest common denominator.
Duh.
You have to find the lowest common denominator.
But who was the lowest common denominator? TV programs for them, radio talks to them, and politicians win elections with their help. The lowest common denominator is very powerful, but they don't seem to know it. I had to find them.
Find the lowest common denominator.
Well, Billy Bob and Buddy Sue, and little Jimmy Jerry and Betty Boo all know it's dangerous to go down an idiot road. Down an idiot road that drive real fast. They never put the signal on when they want to pass you. They cut you off as they talk on their cell phones. Down on idiot road. Brady's 2 and 30 in the passing lane. That tailgater behind you's got his bumper on your brain. Where people think that stop means go down an idiot road.
We live in a world that can make us more intelligent than ever. We have more books, more movies, more information than we could possibly use. We have incredible knowledge at our fingertips. Almost anyone can be a filmmaker, or a radio station, or an international publisher. We have thousands of universities, tens of thousands of channels of TV, and millions of websites, and almost as much freedom as we want. We have more potential than ever. So how come so many of us would rather play dumb?
It's an acronym for fucked up beyond all recognition.
So, where does it come from?
As far as I know, it's a war acronym for when they got to a situation and they had to quickly describe it. It's FUBAR.
Terry!
Right there, right.
That's what I'm fucking talking about! That's what I'm talking about! It's Friday! And there is no Saturday if you do Friday right!
Through history, you'll find lots of people playing parts just because that's where they've been. Like Marilyn Monroe, for example, played a really dumb, ditzy blonde, and she was actually quite intelligent as well. I think you just get into those why? Well, for me, it's like to play Terry. It's sort of like an outlet because you don't have to worry about sounding smart, and so you access the dumb part of your brain that you wish you could always be like that and not worry about what people think.
They're playing Running with the Devil. Van Halen in the other room there.
Running with the devil.
To my right nut, man. See you later, fella.
I think it's like going down to the lowest common denominator at this point. I'd say because things are going so accelerated in terms of technology and in terms of our society is moving at such a rapid pace, and that people are, maxed out with like special effects, full on. Everything is full on and really quick, and so this is almost the opposite.
Is the lowest common denominator FUBAR? No. They're just playing dumb.
The lowest common denominator could be a number of people. It could be the family man.
What's a moron? A homeless person, I would have to say. Anybody that can't keep a job, anybody that has to rely on alcohol or drugs to keep going.
What about an idiot?
An idiot. Well, an idiot would be me. You're looking right at one. Anybody that really just is, I don't know, they don't really have a normal concept of thinking. Anything catches their eye. They don't really think straight or clear. My girlfriend, she's an idiot too. Is that right? She even admits it.
The one man who embodies the lowest common denominator is Hollywood superstar Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler is probably not dumb at all. I don't think anybody with that much savvy in terms of what his audience wants can possibly be dumb.
How are you? Thank you. It's fine. Always goofy no matter what.
He'd been doing a very good job of concealing it until he made Punch Drunk Love, and then we realized, no, actually, this guy's a lot smarter than any of us really thought he was.
I know in my heart I've always been pretty, I've worked hard at trying to make funny movies, and I believe in my movies, and I know critically, a lot of critics object to what I do. I did a few interviews for some magazines. I remember reading the article after hanging out with this person that I didn't know, share my life with them and talk with them and let them into my home and know about my thoughts and whatever. And then I would read the article and I would hear, this guy's a moron. And
Adam Sandler's kind of an interesting example because he plays those lowbrow characters, but he's probably smart enough to know what sells.
Stupid is funny, basically, because people find that funny. People will stand up and say, I'm poor. They'll stand up and say I'm short. They'll stand up and say I'm bald. They'll say I'm powerless. They'll say I have a crappy job. They'll admit all sorts of things about themselves.
I'm a fucking worthless piece of shit.
But you very rarely find anyone who will stand up and say I'm stupid. I don't understand a lot of stuff. So therefore, it's just funny when you see someone else and it's stupidity.
Go! I fucking missed.
I don't say when we're working on a script, I want to play a big-hearted doofus right now. I usually say, I want to write a movie that I think's pretty funny.
Adam Sandler is a very smart guy. And so actually some of the stuff that he does is quite smart. It's just that we have to keep the smart level down here somewhere,
Would a smart guy play dumb to get ahead?
Always goofy no matter what.
There are only 2 newspapers in the United States that have websites with more traffic than us. The New York Times and the Chicago Tribune, that's it. We're ahead of everybody else. I hesitate to say going to FARC would be where you would find out more about human nature, but I'm afraid I'm right. It's just sad but true. I think they're worried that we're coming down from some kind of a high point where we had pure news 100 years ago and we're just slowly letting it slide. My opinion on that is I don't think that was ever the case. I think, again, like I said, I think that our stupidity that's been there all along is just becoming more and more apparent.
The website FARC is part of a booming trend towards chronicling stupidity in its many forms.
I make a distinction, and there's two categories that are pretty close to that. Stupid and asinine are very similar, but there's a big distinction. Stupid is when one or more people do something to themselves. Asinine is when they do it to somebody who just is walking by. About once every 2 or 3 months, somebody somewhere in the world tries to check their gas tank with a Bic lighter. About once a week, somewhere in the world, somebody gets their penis cut off.
Are we becoming a culture for dummies? Are we oversimplifying ourselves back to the Dark Ages?
You know, when thinking started, with Adam and Eve, they had a choice. See, they was told the laws of the land, do not. God told them, don't eat of the tree of knowledge.
From the very beginning, it seems, our world has had an uncomfortable relationship with knowledge and intelligence. One of the most powerful symbols of stupidity, the dunce cap, has an ironic history. John Duns Scotus, who lived in the 13th century, was one of the greatest philosophers of his time. A century later, he was already considered an idiot. You might say science officially discovered stupidity at the turn of the century in Paris. It was then that Alfred Bonnet, a French scientist, invented the first stupidity test. It was called the IQ test.
The original main IQ test was a test used to find mentally retarded people. And the phrases that were used to describe them, depending on their IQ, were, imbecile, idiot. Those phrases then took on, became stigmatized and took on meanings. You would never call, you would certainly never call someone with mental retardation now an idiot.
But today, just about everyone gets called an idiot at some point. So what is an idiot? If you agree with the concept of mental age, then most small children would technically be idiots. Adults who act like babies may be huge idiots. Idiots by the original Greek definition, the unelected crowd.
Oh, an idiot is someone who literally doesn't go into public life.
Ordinary citizens are a bunch of idiots.
So the idiot was the origin of us all. This is to say, this is a figure that is a clean slate, that has no memory traces, that is prior to language.
Could you tell me what the lowest common denominator is?
But Bonnet's IQ test also put the word imbecile on the map. An imbecile ranked just slightly higher than an idiot in IQ result. If your IQ was 0 to 25, you are an idiot. 25 to 50, you were an imbecile. A French invention, the imbecile was more mobile than the idiot. Because the imbecile could move, imbeciles are often associated with action, falling down the stairs, dropping things, causing accidents, or killing themselves. There are raging imbeciles and total imbeciles.
So the original IQ tests were actually developed to exclude people from school. It was testing people that they felt were too dumb.
But for the psychologists of the time, idiot and imbecile were not enough. So a new kind of stupidity classification was created. In the early part of the century, Henry Goddard, an American psychologist, translated the IQ test into English. It was a huge hit in America, and soon almost the entire population was being tested. And the IQ test became the dominant judge of human intelligence. Evidence is mounting now that the IQ test doesn't measure emotional intelligence, street intelligence, gut instinct, general wisdom, sense of humor, and a lot of other things people use to navigate the world. In many cases, girls did better on IQ tests than boys. More sports questions were added, and the balance was redressed. Moron was invented in the town of Vineland, deep in southern New Jersey.
Well, on the grounds of the training school, we had a research laboratory, and that's where Dr. Goddard worked out of. So, since a majority of his work took place out of that facility, which is no longer standing, unfortunately, I would imagine that's where that term was established. Just a matter of 100 yards or so from this facility. 1910. In 1910, Dr. Goddard proposed the term moron to identify higher-level individuals that were formerly labeled feeble-minded.
In those days, children that were not very intelligent, put them in a closet, you put them in the attic, and they were abandoned. And he thought that he could train them. So he started giving them special attention, and he was so successful that he decided to enlarge the operation. In the old days, a moron was a person that had a low IQ, but might be a very nice person, might be very sensible, might be very reasonable, may be a very great person. But now, moron is derogatory.
What are some of the big inventions that were developed here in Vineland that you know about?
The big inventions, the biggest one was probably I have not a clue.
They invented the word moron here.
I'm sorry?
The word moron was invented here. No. Invented the word moron.
Wow. No, I did not know that.
It's surprising that we use that word a lot. Don't know that it comes from here, though.
That word was invented here in Vineland.
Oh, I don't know that.
Do you know that?
No. Moron.
What is moron?
Man, that's cool.
Moron.
Yeah.
You use that word?
You never used that word?
Nah.
You never used the word? You never use the word?
See, that's the white folks' word.
Isn't that an interesting fact that the people in Vineland have very little concept of this?
I think they should give everybody a day off, make it moron day. Everybody get a day off for work. You know what I mean? Like that. Moron day, but just make a note that people in Vineland are not morons, but we just celebrate that day because the word was made up in Vineland.
How does it make you feel that Vineland is the home of the word moron, invented the word moron?
Kind of stupid.
I think they were trying to prove how heredity was the basis of intelligence. If your mother is stupid and your father is stupid, you're going to be stupid. It's one of these things.
Goddard believed stupidity was genetic. Stupid parents would have stupid children. Goddard believed that America was being quietly flooded with morons, imbeciles, and idiots. On Ellis Island, Goddard personally IQ tested immigrants.
Millions of these people were coming in every year. So the pressure is on the sociologists of those days to come up with something where they could say, yeah, this guy is okay. I mean, he does have a brain.
Thousands of immigrants, many who didn't speak English, were labeled morons and deported. Later, Goddard is said to have regretted publishing his books about genetic stupidity. Although he later recanted his theories, Goddard's books were translated into German, where they inspired, among others, the Nazis. Morons were some of the first Germans sent to the gas chamber. One reason why stupidity may seem so cool is because intelligence doesn't often look smart. Universities are beer halls. Dumb is sexy.
Is there any sign of any intellectual activity at your university?
What do you mean by intellectual?
People reading books, somebody playing the violin, intellectual debate, that kind of thing?
No, man.
Partially because of the IQ test, our whole concept of who is smart and who is dumb may be completely wrong.
When I was in elementary school, they would give us these group IQ tests. And when the school psychologist would come in the classroom, I would freeze because I knew what she was coming for. And I did really poorly on the test. So poorly that when I was in 6th grade, I was sent back to a 5th grade classroom to retake the 5th grade test, presumably because they thought that the 6th grade test would be too hard for me. And the result was that for the first 3 years of school, my teachers had low expectations for me because, after all, I was stupid. And they treated me like I was kind of stupid, and I acted like I was kind of stupid because, you know, you often act the way people expect you to.
This is part of a more general trend in psychology, I think, historically, where we've been very deficit-focused. We focus on what's wrong with people, whether it's what makes them stupid or what makes them have sad moods or what makes them have delusions and hallucinations or what makes them violent. We don't focus much attention on what makes people happy, what makes people live a rich life, what makes people have great relationships, what makes people peace-loving.
What's the point in going to school if the world doesn't want you to be smart?
In fact, that's a lot of what education is about from the very beginning. It's to make you passive and obedient and not to raise too many problems and so on. So yeah, there are efforts to control people and make them more stupid.
But really, it's just a very narrow slice of what it means to be smart that happens to be a good predictor of how people will do in school and other scholastic settings. But there are many other ways to be smart in this world.
With the popularity of the IQ test, science clearly identified the dumb. But what about people with high IQs? Are they beyond stupidity?
The initial idea for the book was during the Clinton administration because there seemed to be so many smart people in both parties who were acting in stupid ways. When you're talking about people doing the kinds of stupid things like you'd see at Enron, they commit 4 fallacies. They've been so rewarded in their lives that they become very focused and centered on themselves, and they stop caring about outcomes for other people. The second fallacy is what I call the omniscience fallacy, and that is most of these very smart people surround themselves by sycophants. They start to think they know everything. So part of wisdom is knowing what you don't know. These people, instead of becoming wise, become foolish. The third fallacy is what I call the omnipotence fallacy. They start to think they're all powerful, and they start acting as though they can do anything they want. And the fourth fallacy is what I call the invulnerability fallacy, and that is they start to think they're Superman. So if you put those 4 fallacies together, what can happen is that very smart people start to do incredibly stupid things.
I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
All of these people, by any standard, would have done very well on IQ tests, SATs.
Why didn't I just stay overnight?
But they acted in ways that were stupid.
Why didn't I take a cab? There are no sensible answers to those questions. How could I have been so stupid?
Is it possible that we're all stupid?
Stupidity and intelligence had nothing to do with education. Education is terribly important. But there are people with not much formal education who are extremely bright. And I've met university professors who are totally stupid.
What I think is, look, there's book smart, there's street smart, there's common sense.
And you get many a guy who graduated from Harvard and can't get along in the real world and can't function. It's almost like an idiot savant. And yet you got some street guy that grew up that didn't graduate high school that's a multimillionaire and owns a trucking company.
You know, I know manual workers who are, I think, smarter than the people in the faculty clubs and solve harder problems.
They're just happy having their 9-to-5 job. The kids jump on them when they come home. Like I said, they eat a plate of pasta. Sunday they get along with their family. I don't think they're dumb guys. I just think maybe they're the smart ones that know what they want out of life.
Probably from the beginning of recorded time, people made themselves look smart by calling other people dumb. But few things make us feel smarter than distancing ourselves from cavemen. In urban human circles, a monobrow immediately denotes lower intelligence.
What was it like to wear those kind of eyebrows?
It was like, I don't understand the question. You stick them in and you go to work.
I guess, how did it make you feel? Did you feel more intelligent or less intelligent?
No, it didn't make me feel more intelligent, it made me feel more hairy. But I don't know, you're welcome to try it, maybe it'll make you feel more.
Yes, I will.
I used to have one eyebrow. I was stupid enough to go through the pain of plugging them, and of course now I needed them.
The rise of the internet heralded a grand new age of new media, new technology, and new intelligence. The low-cost, high-access internet is going to cause an explosion of information and officially empower intelligence.
Decline of the information age. I think people want stupid media as a break from all this information influx that they're getting. You're just like bombarded with so much information anyway, so you don't really want to know about important things anymore. You just want to see, slapstick. You want to see some tits and ass. You want to see some slapping. You want to see some people hurting each other on TV. You just want it, and we're giving it to them because it's just getting easier and easier to make stuff. And it's also, on the other end of it, is that there's just so many avenues for immediate release of information. And when you're all about immediacy, you run out of things to say. And when you run out of things to say, you just say the stupidest things.
Is the internet a virtual lowest common denominator? If our culture is hooked on stupidity, and if stupidity can be dangerous, should we be worried that there is hardly any research on this subject? Surprisingly, there are few books. All the academic texts ever written on the subject could barely fill half a shelf.
Up until now, there's been almost no study by serious academicians on stupidity. Most of the books that have been written, and there are only about 7 or 8, are really anecdotal books. They just really give you a whole string of examples of stupid behavior. And they're interesting books, they're amusing, they're fun to read. But everybody knows there's a lot of stupidity. That's nothing new. And when you read all those books, you don't come out really having learned anything other than they're more stupid people than you realize.
I've never found anyone who had a decent definition of intelligence or stupidity. We don't really know what it is, but it's there. We're scared of it. I mean, is there any systematic study of stupidity, or has there ever been? Not that I know of.
Well, I had a great deal of trouble getting the book published because publishers just wouldn't touch it. 20 years ago, stupidity was an absolute taboo topic. It just was not popular at all. I liken it to diarrhea today. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's something you have to live with, but nobody would analyze it or have anything to do with it.
The other thing is that it's scary, because we are all a little bit stupid and we don't particularly want to admit it.
According to Marx already, stupidity was third in terms of world historical determining forces. First, as we of course know, there was capital that determined world events and world history. Then there was violence, and stupidity comes in third as being absolutely crucial and determinant in the shaping and contouring of world events.
You don't see too many books on the serious psychology bookshelves that have to do with stupidity. And I think part of the problem is anytime you study something negative, it gets stigmatized. And somehow people worry about kind of a contagion.
What, you think you're so smart that you can see a distance or establish a distance between yourself and stupidity? Or are you so stupid that you don't even know you're stupid?
I've always felt that people will choose to be stupid, a little bit stupid at least, out of fear. They're afraid that the truth, the intelligent truth, would be so depressing and would be so hopeless that they'd rather not hear it or see it or find out about it.
It's a lot easier to be stupid in the U.S. than it is to be smart and stand up and be accused of not being for freedom, not being patriotic, and not feeling sorry for the victims of September 11th.
As long as we don't know what stupidity is, how can we know what knowledge is? We are very stupid. Einstein said that the universe and stupidity are infinite, but he's not so sure about, he says, Einstein says that the universe and stupidity are limited, but he's not so sure about
No academic research, few books, and no emergency government inquiries into stupidity. With a modern kind of energy, stupidity has gone from a taboo topic to prime time entertainment. We're living in the lowest common denominator's paradise. TV shows are competing to see which is the stupidest. And of course, the most primal concept wins. Is it possible that stupidity is not just the absence of intelligence, but a force of its own?
I do think that we are becoming stupider and stupider when it comes to dating. I mean, if you look at, some of the reality shows on television and watch people going out on dates, it's absolutely astounding. There was a whole That Stupid Book, The Rules. It basically told women to be stupid. Wow. Make sure that he feels smarter. That's amazing. More interesting. Really? Because, otherwise you're going to intimidate him.
Part of it is our silly pandering to the youth. And youth, as anyone with any intelligence knows, are not the smartest people. That's why they're young. They haven't learned as much. Other societies don't even have to be reminded of these things. It's just part and parcel of it that you venerate the older people because they're wiser. Duh.
Programming that tries to appeal to the lowest common denominator, that's simplistic.
Are you dumb? Brain.
Lowest moments. Is often effective in bringing more audience to the set.
Sex and violence.
It's an angel. They have these intense research screenings, so if this person doesn't like this and this person doesn't like that, and don't offend that group, and don't say this, and don't do that, and don't do this.
In other words, we are being spoon-fed baby food.
Many people accuse the world's greatest film industry, Hollywood, of deliberately dumbing people down by appealing to the laziest, dumbest responses in all of us.
Perfect bodies making perfect love in a perfect world.
There are two ways in which Hollywood infantilizes the population. One is by only feeding us a diet of children's stories. But another way is by so controlling the publicity and distribution of art in general. Their power is so great that they manage to squeeze out most other forms of art.
Obviously, there's a real seduction to stupidity. I guess it's the unwritten truth. That's what Hollywood actors in particular are ideally supposed to be, are blank slates. The majority of them have never finished high school, including people you would think, considering their image, would have, like people like Uma Thurman, never finished high school. She has a academic father, but there you are. It's mostly they're discovered, like Keanu Reeves, people like that. It's why part of the time they sort of foster a fake kind of book learning. It's why you'll find them in Vanity Fair and the thing Celebrity Bookshelf, you know, what am I reading now? And it's usually something metaphysical because they don't have the discipline of mind to separate, you know, things that are rubbish. And if you think about it, I mean, what is the age that you need to get discovered by? You need to be a teenager. So you really don't have time to finish your BA and then go off to Europe. You're going to be getting kind of long in the tooth by the time you come back and you're ready for your close-up in Maxim.
That's entertainment. What about news? Surely current affairs are not programmed for the lowest common denominator.
But first, these government press releases read by a fashion model.
Headlines. In the United States now, they're starting to lay music beds on news stories, which was verboten for many, many years, but it's becoming more and more show business all the time. And it's the type of thing that the average viewer, although people are pretty TV literate now, might necessarily notice that there's violins playing in the back during that news piece.
The media is about dumbing down. The media is about simplifying. The media is about the 20-second soundbite.
I've worked as a journalist for various different media, broadcast and print. And every different magazine and newspaper will have a different rule that they tell you about the age level of their presumed audience. And it's always much younger than the adults you know to be reading it. So in certain extreme cases, I've been told you're writing for a grade 8 audience. At more sophisticated newspapers, I've been told you're writing for a high school audience. I know for certain broadcasters, I've been told you're writing for grade 10 audience. They're terrified of alienating viewers or listeners, and they know that if there are too many words people don't understand, they're going to flip to something easier.
The most successful program format on cable television in America is what? Wrestling. Wrestling is the most successful, and that's why a lot of the panel shows and discussion shows of television are based on wrestling.
It's survival of the most psychotic.
Well, I think the worst thing that TV does to you is make you think you're more powerful than you are. It makes you assume that all this information coming to you, you must be important, you have to decide something, you have to decide. No, you don't. The big lie is the world's a more increasingly complex place. The world's increasingly complex. No, it isn't.
Real TV's been on for how many years? You know, you want to see someone get gored by a bull. You know, you want to see a monkey in a diaper. You want to see crazy stuff.
Suddenly, you know, you realize you're sitting there, your mouth feels like cloth, your chest is covered with potato chip crumbs, you got a sour feeling like you've been, you know, sleeping on the floor, you're all alone, you don't exactly know what you've been watching for all this time, you've been vaguely alarmed and vaguely aroused, but you're frustrated because there's been no release. That's a really crummy feeling. And, you know, as bad as it is for adults, it's positively criminal to subject children to that kind of thing.
I think you want entertainment. You don't want to, you know, have some journalistic probing, you know, changing the world with enlightenment. You know, we like to think that we're that smart, but we're not that smart. We're still stupid flesh monkeys. We haven't evolved to this point that we think that we are. We still like to watch retarded things happen on TV.
I think a lot of the dumbing down of film is really done in the conference room at the studio.
Hollywood, I think, knows how dumb people really are, and they're catering to it. And guess what? It works and it makes money, so hey.
As for dumbing down, that's done very consciously. So, for example, again, take television. The programs are geared to the interests of teenagers. Why is that done? Well, because of studies that indicated that brand loyalty is established pretty young. So therefore, you want to gear the programs, you want to dumb them down to the level of children, because then you can trap them. You're going to trap them into a kind of brand loyalty, and then you don't have to worry about them too much later on.
There is a sort of a worship of stupidity. The stupidest thing possibly I've seen in my life was Jackass the movie, and I laughed.
I just think that Jackass was a more kind of outrageously stupid phenomenon. I mean, it celebrates its stupidity and it trumpets its stupidity. And that's also part of, I think, the culture that we're living in today.
One of the few theories of stupidity to emerge in recent times is the relationship between stupidity and belief systems. Basically, human beings don't really know what's going on. So as a defense mechanism, they often construct rigid belief systems to help them navigate the world.
Everyone has a belief system, which I call a schema, and because of this belief system, people process information deferentially, meaning if it's information that confirms the schema, they take it in. If it's information which challenges the schema, they reject it. So if a person is involved in a course that's detrimental to his own best interest, he will not process the information that is indicating that. If you have a belief system which purports to explain the way the universe works, and it keeps you from getting a better belief system, then in that sense, religions can be very stupid.
They know what God wants. They know what Allah wants. Christians know what the Lord is telling them to do. Orthodox Jews know everything too.
The idea that we have the right answer.
According to the left, the right is stupid. According to the right, the left is stupid
Communist morons!
and lacks common sense, which may explain why politics itself so often seems stupid.
Because they feel so self-righteous, they insist on imposing their values on the rest of us.
As war becomes bigger and more dangerous, it's obvious to everyone that this is something we should bring under control, have we? But war is very stupid, by definition, and we're still at it. We haven't been able, as a community, to get rid of it. Isn't that very, very, very stupid? We know we should.
Could the leader of the free world be the lowest common denominator?
I intend to find the killers wherever they may hide and run them down.
George Bush is not my ideal leader. I think he's about as dumb as any politician the United States has had, with the possible exception of Ronald Reagan.
I mean, really, think about the United States, okay? Here we are. We're a country that's one of the founding fathers discovered electricity. Great inventors, you know, scientists. Look what we've devolved to. A guy who's proud that you know, he was the king of the keggers.
President Bush actually gave a talk at the commencement at Yale this past year where he said to the C students, you too can be president of the United States.
He's proud of it. He wears it right on his sleeve. Stands up and says, yeah, I was a C student. I was just a big party boy.
Let me say something about Bush and Bushisms. You know, one of the things I was always struck by talking to him was at the same time as he would stumble over the simplest things, he had a kind of depth of language in other ways.
He calls the people of Pakistan's Pakis.
I don't think there was ever a moment where it was normal to elect intellectuals to public office.
But intelligence has never seemed to be a requirement.
We have a president who prides himself on his bluntness. He therefore exults in certain propositions.
This will be a monumental struggle of good versus evil.
That don't add up. They don't make sense, but they sound firm.
And it's a struggle between good and it's a struggle between evil.
The media will not raise any of the rational questions that real journalists would raise for a rational population of citizens of a democracy. For example, the axis of evil.
An axis of evil.
Bush used that phrase against the wishes of many of the people around him. He liked it, liked the sound of it. He may not know what the actual axis was back in World War II. The evidence suggests that he doesn't know. It doesn't matter, he liked the sound of it. Three nations, evil, all working together, fine.
The mind of the successful politician is a lot more like the mind of the successful artist than it is like the mind of the successful intellectual. It's a job of seeing new patterns and new possibilities, not of analyzing words and data.
But I'm committed to reducing the amount of nuclear weaponry
Even within the worldview, the confines of the Bush-Cheney worldview, it was inane, it was stupid, didn't make any sense, you see? But nobody asked that question. This is what happens. You have an official statement by the president, which is inane and nonsensical.
And it's a struggle between good and it's a struggle between evil.
The media simply presents it, and the media's sheer presentation has a kind of authority. They raise no questions. They don't make the obvious point. They don't say, wait, whoa, what are you talking about?
Because I know what it means to put food on your family. Huh? What the hell was that he just said?
We tend, each of us, to think, gee, maybe I'm the only one who thinks this. Or worse, maybe I'm crazy, you know?
Yesterday, a senior government official called the President of the United States a moron.
He's a friend of mine, and he's not a moron at all.
Will the government hold the official who called the President of the United States a moron accountable by demanding his or her resignation?
He is a well-educated guy, even though some people don't seem to think he is.
He's not well-educated, but he went to the good schools.
Certainly an advantage is not being too smart, because people don't like know-it-all. So for some people, to appear as an average Joe has a lot of benefits.
Candidates are not real people, they're trained puppets. So George Bush, for example, who's an elite Yale fraternity boy, is trained to make him look like he's a Texas roughneck. So he has to say heck and gosh and, you know, put a cowboy hat on.
He acts as if he's speaking to children.
We cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
We all fall for it. I mean, are we stupid? No!
Could the leader of the free world be the lowest common denominator? He couldn't be an idiot because he was elected, although some dispute that. He's not an imbecile because he hardly ever falls down.
Bush is not a moron, and to call him that is grossly incorrect.
Like Fubar, he knew how to play a regular guy. Like Adam Sandler, he knows how to hide his intelligence. He's a man of action. He likes war a lot. Would a smart guy play dumb to get ahead? And if so, what does that say about our world?
If someone said to me I was an enormous idiot, I would say thank you very much. Well, I got the idea for my book, Ignorance is Bliss, pretty much for my own life. I was sad and confused, and I was trying to find a solution. And eventually I realized that admitting you have a problem isn't the solution, it's the problem. So when you think about something, you're just causing damage to yourself. I thought a lot about thinking, and I eventually decided it was best not to think. My slogan is, a mind is a terrible thing. Unfortunately, since we came down from the trees, the society forces you to think at a very young age, so you have to instill a willful stupidity, which is ignorance. If you saw a herd of cows, people think cows are stupid, I think it's generally agreed. Would those cows be happier knowing that they were cows and that they would be milked and then slaughtered? No, they wouldn't be happier from that. So why would people be happier knowing that their life is pointless? It's actually thinking that's caused all the damage. You don't see fish burning coal, for example, or creating missiles. Fish swim and they do it well. But it's actually, I think, intelligence that has gotten people into trouble. And we'd all be a lot better off if we just stopped doing that. You have to retrain yourself to stop thinking, to stop wondering. And my book, of course, has a 7-step program to relieve you of thinking. And not only just thinking, emotions as well. You could be back to being a true idiot within a week. Stop thinking is the first step in my program. It's probably the simplest and the most important. Because if you want to become stupid and ignorant, the first thing you have to do is stop thoughts from entering your brain. You're drunk and you drive a car and you have an accident. The natural inclination is to blame yourself for this when it's not your fault. And when you blame yourself, then you start thinking again. So you have to stop that. Instead, you shift the blame to things like the bar, forcing you to drink, car companies for creating cars that can damage telephone poles, and especially the telephone companies for putting telephone poles on the road which you could run into. Once you let go of emotions and you've stopped thinking, then you have to stop feeling things like love. If you build walls, they will be stuck outside forever. Most people think that challenge is good, but challenge is bad. When children are told that they can be anything they want to be, it's just a lifetime of tragedy. They're told that they can be smart, that they can be handsome or pretty. If you go to a shopping mall and look at the children, most of them are stupid and ugly. The most important thing to do about denying is to deny to yourself that you have denied. It's a very hard mental state to be in. So once you deny something because you have to protect yourself, then you have to quickly forget that you ever denied anything. If you do manage to reach that moment of pure stupidity, you will actually never know it.
What have we learned today? When it comes to stupidity, we may be a little ignorant. As ordinary unelected people, we may be a bunch of idiots. We really don't know what's going on, but we need to pretend we do. Even the smartest people can be stupid, and sometimes the smartest are the stupidest. Why would a smart person want to watch a stupid documentary? I know. Because some people who think they're smart are probably stupid, and some people who act stupid are probably smarter than they appear. With so much blatant stupidity in the world, why has there never been an intelligent investigation? I'll tell you. I don't know.
Who in the world cannot look at their life and see the stupid things that they've done?
We tend to think that we're so much more evolved than we actually are, but we're not, you know? Darwin, I'm sure, still tried to convince Mrs. Darwin to have bum sex.
I've done stupid things. I'm sure you've done stupid things.
We're really terrified of people discovering that we're stupid. So I just admit it.
And you suddenly realize how stupid you really are too often. But once you get familiar with it, it becomes interesting because you start getting more comfortable with the whole idea.
It's interesting to me how ashamed most people are of just being. Just being.
I shouldn't be falling into despair just because I'm stupid. Well, aren't we all?
The lowest common denominators are the viewers, not television itself.
First you have to, I think, as a person, just knock it off with yourself and admit what a doofus you are.
Doofus at all.
I was stupid.
I'm stupid.
Stupid.
So stupid.
A moron.
Dumb.
Stupid.
Stunned.
Stupid.
Stupidity.
That's dumb right there.
Duh.
Dumb.
Stupid.
Stupidity.
And then, I think you can start to get wise then.
Really?
Scott became
We got
famous
blankets,
for
right?
freezing to
Got
death
to snake
in
to shake the
Denmark.
snow off. Cardboard sucks the water.
Columbus made history, thinking some island was in General Custer's a national hero for not knowing when to run. All of these men are famous, and they're also very dumb.
History is made by stupid people. Clever people wouldn't even try. If you want a place in the history books, then do something dumb before you die. Nobility are famous for no reason. Marie Antoinette enjoyed her cake. She caused a revolution when she would not share, and her husband lost his head for that mistake. The Hindenburg was a giant zeppelin. Its makers made a minor oversight. Before they filled it up with explosive gas, they should have fixed the no-smoking light. 'Cause history is made by stupid people. before you die. Tally ho, our king and country's honor we will save. Tally ho, we're marching into history and the grave. So if your son and daughter seem too lazy, sitting there watching bad TV, just remember you should be quite grateful. At least they are not making history. 'Cause history is made by stupid people. Clever people wouldn't be